when hooking in your speed bar, you hook in left and right risers, and then as usual, before you go to get the brakes, everything is hanging down. Your A's are against your legs. And
this
then
is if you're doing a forward.
It would actually be either way.
Okay.
Yeah, because the A's are always going to be hanging against your legs.
If you walk forward enough.
Okay.
Exactly. That way you can walk down the road, make sure there's no twist in the risers. You can check your trim tabs, make sure they're properly positioned and even. And then at that point, then you would say, okay, I need to attach my speed bar. And you pick so in this case, you pick it up, you grab this, and then you just connect the two together because you got another one on here. So it's coming from here up directly to that. So, and it's a little confusing without a wing being here.
It has like a identical piece like this?
Yep, you got it.
So how does it?
So they go 90
like
degrees, and
then it's locked in.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So the gist of it is it goes directly from the pulley directly to the other sister clip. It's nothing wrapped around in between or
and you want it on
like
the outside of stuff. Like I see this one's forward of everything, whereas this one right now is
Okay, good. No, it's just the throttle.
Yeah.
So on the outside and in front of.
Yep. So you just pick it up, and then since it's literally right in front of you, pretty much, it just goes directly to it.
Is it something you can clip in the air as well?
You can if you forget to do it, but it is preferred to do it on the ground because it's hard to do, and you're fumbling with stuff, and you might lose your focus of flying and keeping yourself safe. Maybe there's another aircraft that's doing the same thing, and you guys collide. So if you're doing it on the ground, you're helping to prevent stuff up in the air. So at that point, when you're clipped in and it's here, when the wing comes up and starts flying, now your A's are in front, and then you've got your sister clip right here, and it's connected to it, and it's just one line that goes down like that.
So it's going to be almost in front of the A's.
It is. Okay. You got it. And then as you press out on that speed bar, then it's pulling that down, pulling the leading edge down, and allowing you to fly faster.
And just to crush this one home, you're using speed bar. The good practice is just tip steering, but just because you don't want to get that confused, but you could use brakes. The only time you have to use tip steering is if your speed bar and your trim tabs are all the way out.
Yeah, it's really extra good practice that if your trim tabs are open at all and you're applying speed bar, that's when I will not touch the brakes. So in my case, if my feet are getting ready to go on that speed bar, I have to remind myself, okay, I'm not going to be using brakes, I'm going to park these, and then I'm either going to go like this and only grab stuff that I need when I need it, or I'm purposely going to get those tip steering lines in my hands and then have those ready to go if I need to steer. Then you can press out, and when you press out, you want to do it slowly over time. You don't want to just jam on it, because that would almost be like falling down to your A's and doing a frontal. It's in extreme conditions, or if you're in rough air, or you hit rough air that you weren't expecting and you go too fast, it could cause and then nice and smooth off as well. If you're flying, you're increasing your speed by on the Spider around 6 to 7 miles an hour by pressing that out. And if you come off of that too fast, all that speed and energy is building up and you balloon out. And then that could lead to other issues.
Okay.
And it's not very fun either, because you're looking up at the sky and then you're looking down to the ground. And what I'm going to do is loosen this knot up and hook the riser. And we're going to bring this up to approximately flying height, which is about right there. Into it. So just like you were flying up like that. inch forward from there.
Okay.
Now we normally, when we install these,
Put tight from to this point.
yeah, you got it, because that's where your speed bar is going to come up to,
Okay.
and then hold right there. So that's going to be our spot right there. We'll make a mark for reference. At that point, we just move this knot and shift it up here, and then do the same thing on the other side.
Okay.
So when installing these previously, if you can do your measurement before you put it in, or get one side measured and then you even it out on the other side.
So when you said 36 inches is kind of the default, that's from 36 inches from here.
Yep, you
Yeah,
got it right in that ballpark.
Okay.
And then you're gonna work this knot through, which is not exactly easy but doable.
And let's say that if I get in there and I pull the speed bar and it's not, maybe is it too loose or too tight?
Just adjust.
How would I typically know
if it's too tight when you hook in and you're flying, then it's got like a
you're
fair
gonna feel
amount
tension
of tension
where it's actually pulling? Okay.
Exactly. And then if it's too loose, it's slack.
I see.
And then
Okay.
when you go to pull it out, it may not fully pull these down to engage the pulleys together.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So trying to find that happy point in there. And once again, you're just moving that knot to that new location there. As long as it's relatively close, it's in the ballpark. And then typically you do adjust it a little bit because everybody has a different seating height and angle and this and that. So that's a good start there. And then leave that on there. That's not going to get in your way until you know you're at the proper. And then you can cut it and then burn it with a lighter.
Okay.
Or something.
And that goes for these two, and that's just if I
So these ones I would recommend creating that little hole.
I'll just tie it up.
Yeah, and you just keep looping it through until it doesn't have any more. And then you go around it and then tie a knot.
Just do a basic knot.
Yep. You got it. Even if it comes undone, it just turns back into that. That's not a big deal. Safety wise, it's not going to affect you.
Okay, cool.
Alright, so let's go ahead and try and measure out the same amount on the other side. And what I'll do is this one, we'll try and find something that's approximately the same length as this and try and get it even.
Okay.
Because
Here, how about ratchet strap?
oh yeah.
This just is
Oh, yeah.
to the right
Good
angle
idea.
and
Yep.
okay.
That way they're not going to come undone in the air.
Okay, cool.
So actually, let's go down here to where we just need to measure this because they're the same length to begin with.
Gotcha. Okay. So
Right there. Okay. Now, actually, okay, bring that length over, and then we're gonna split it down the middle. And once again, if we're relatively close, a little bit more. It looks about like in the middle, pretty close.
Okay.
So we'll try that. And work that around. The proper one here. looks about to be the same length.
Okay. And I can kind of tinker with it.
Yeah.
First time.
That looks right there. And you do not have to, if it's at the proper length, when you come in and land after using it, it's already sucked up because the wing is up here pulling tension on it. So you might have an inch or two dangling a little bit, but not enough to actually affect your safety. Then when you land, now it's lower because you don't have the tension holding it up. So I'll either grab it with my free hand and just walk with it like that, or you can bend over, put it on the Velcro, or you can do it in the air as well before you come down and land. But once again, if you're distracted doing that, maybe that's not the best time and area to be messing around with stuff that you don't have to. Always looking at the lesser of the two evils.
For sure.
And the loop is for originally just like initially catching your foot on it, and then the flat part is where you put your heels.
You got it.
Okay.
So when you're flying and you've got the proper tension, it's just kind of flappy like this, and it's useful to actually apply some tension with your hand there,
So it
and
kind
then
of
it
pulls it up.
flips it forward, and then with one foot you hook your heel in it
Yep.
and pop it from the Velcro and get it out, and then that allows your other foot to come in and actually hit the bar. Then you press that out, and then you release your foot from the other one in the process. So it's a little bit of a juggle to do it,
Yeah.
but once you get the technique, it's easy. And then when you're doing for speed bar for the first time, you want to have good altitude. Don't be doing it close to the ground. Have your trim tabs all the way in the safest position.
Okay.
All the way.
All the way in the
Okay,
safest
just for your
position.
first
Yeah,
time, just
just
to
for
try
the
it out.
first handful of times to try it out. That way, if you do screw something up, it's going to be less likely to collapse. And if it does collapse, it's going to be quicker to open. And then nice and smooth. You might only want to go halfway out and just see what it feels like. There's a fair amount of tension there. And then you come back nice and slow and say, okay, cool, I didn't die.
Yeah.
And then you go back out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
And
that's
fully
always a good
engaged
thing.
is when the two pulleys are touching each other.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you, let's say if it's too short and
Yeah.
you've touched and then you've still got throw onto your foot,
Yep.
now you can actually pull the leading edge down too far.
Right.
Like if you were pulling the A's down and potentially take a collapse. So if you see yourself get into that, like hold off, nope, this isn't feeling right.
Yep.
That's not supposed to be happening, and then go readjust and try it again.
Gotcha.
And if you can get in a simulator like the one that we have in the shop that has the risers and stuff, you can actually practice that
Yeah.
in the air as well. So anytime that we're down there and you guys need to use that, you're more than welcome to.
Cool. Is there any like sensation that you might feel if when you're applying a speed bar that kind of is cueing you into maybe you're pushing it a little too far?
Are you going to lose altitude?
You are going to be going faster. The wing is considered less efficient because it's lower angle of attack, so you'd have to apply a certain amount of power to compensate. So the way that I do it is as I'm pressing out, knowing I'm going to start descending, I'll add a little bit of throttle to compensate for it, and then everything's nice and smooth and even on it. And just like everything else with time, you'll know just the right amount to apply at the proper time. Just like when you're turning, getting into G's, and when to let it out, when to come off the throttle if you've got any throttle on, and you're just absorbing that energy over time. So same situation. Yeah. Right here, so right in between these two, just loop it around and tie a regular knot in it. So this would be untieable in the air if you forgot to untie it and hook in and you wanted to hook in the air. You could work this knot out and it's not going to come undone because of the weight is holding it down, and it's going to have to come past this and open up this much to be able to get back through the knot. So that's a safe knot and a safe location.
That's not going to get in the way.
Exactly. And then it's not long enough to get back here and flap or anything.
Okay.
So yeah.
Just a regular old.
You got it. Good.
Overhand knot.
Perfect. Cool. All right, and that concludes
All right.
class.
Anything else?